Thank you, men, for coming out. Thank you. You're gonna help this problem. I'm telling you. But there's gonna be people that are gonna come out as victims, and they're gonna have other victims. Okay. I don't know about this dude. Okay, but Sean Diddy Combs accused of sexual assault by male producer. Okay, there's been a lot of comments about this guy being with men. Sean Combs has been sued by a music producer who has accused him of sexual assault and being forced to have sex with sex workers. Rodney Little Rod. I would not want the name Little Rod. I'm terrible. Okay. Allegedly that he was a victim of unsolicited groping and sexual touching while he was working for the rapper on his latest album. Okay, this was the fifth lawsuit with sexual assault allegations against Mr. Combs. Responding to the lawsuit in the New York court, lawyer for the artist said is pure fiction. Okay, Mr. Combs' attorney said, we have overwhelmingly indisputable proof that his claims are complete lies. We will address the outlandish allegations in court. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, what did that site say? An editor's note. A lawsuit is only one side of the story. Oh, my God. Okay. According to the court documents, a music producer lived and traveled with Mr. Combs between 2022 and 2023. Okay, this is pretty recent. This isn't an older story. His lawyer says he was drugged and recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused, and he was in bed with two sex workers and Mr. Combs. Yeah, this is a pretty typical action here. And now these are the true swingers right here. I'm not involved in anything like that. And there's always problems. See, here's a problem right here. There was a problem in the case. I forgot the names of those people, but it's a big case. The conservatives that had the threesome and one person got raped, right? Okay, here's this. And in another instance, I was saying somebody was trying to drag me into some situation like that. Pretty bad. So Jones also alleged in a suit that the rapper was grooming him to pass him off to his friends and engaging in serious illegal activity. I just think it's funny. It's like he's a rapper. He is an automatic criminal. Technically, and they're into human trafficking women a lot of times. Like they're the picture of, we really respect women. We treat them like ladies. We treat them like humans. About never. I haven't seen it. You show me that guy, and you give me a minute with his mouth, and I will show you how he disrespects women in probably about like 10 seconds. Okay, so Jones also alleged in his suit that the rapper was grooming him to pass him off to his friends. Okay, a number of photos of parties at Combs' house were included in the suit. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Can we see those? Okay, the court documents claim that the photos include underage girls. Okay, I don't want to see those. We got some bad stuff going on here. And sex workers who it is alleged were supplied with drugs. Okay, so at this moment when I'm reading that, we don't know if the sex workers are willing participants or are they being human trafficked and being abused by Diddy, because he could be another Peter Nygard. Okay, at this moment that does not tell us anything. I can't like say, oh, they're automatic victims, or oh, they're not just doing it on their own. Like that's what they want to do. It doesn't sound right because they're supplied with drugs. Okay, so if you're doing drugs, sex and drugs don't mix, okay? So sex and drugs can turn into just automatic rape. That would mean that they may not have, be coherent. Even if they agreed to the initial act and came over, if they gave them drugs in the middle of this and then they were no longer able to consent, and they don't know what they're doing, they're under the influence, it would be automatically rape, regardless if they're a sex worker, okay? Now, sex workers may have a hard time trying to debate stuff like that, because maybe some of them have a drug issue. Maybe that's why they're doing it. So in those cases, it would still fall in line with those things because they can't consent, even though they may be initially a willing participant. They're no longer a willing participant if you can't be able to consent during an act, right? That's why drugs are really bad. Now, or drinks, okay? Underage girls. Okay, child porn. If there's photos of naked children in this thing, then that would be considered child porn, and that should be an addition. That should go to that actually should go to somebody else. They're automatic victims, so that's not even, we shouldn't even debate that. Other defendants named in the suit include Mr. Combs' son, Justin, his chief of staff. Other defendants named in the suit include Mr. Combs' son, Justin, his chief of staff, Christina, Universal Music Group, Motown Records CEO. Okay, the suit alleges that Grange, Haberton, Motown Records, Love Records, and Universal Music Group failed to adequately monitor, warn, or supervise the actions of Mr. Combs, his son, and his chief of staff. We might be able to learn something from this case, that you go at the record label that they were on at the time of the record label, I personally believe, had some responsibility in the conduct of their artists. They also promote artists that they knew that were acting out in this behavior. So to me, when I looked at the situation, I looked at it like a football team, or, some conduct of a coach, right? Of a coach. And like, they knew so-and-so was raping everybody up in here, and then they just covered it up and didn't tell anybody. And then they cared more about the game than they cared about people getting raped. And it's so criminal. And there's so many people that do this, and they need to get in trouble for it. So in order to get that tackled, you have to get those people in trouble and start making an example that if you act in this way, you're going to get in trouble too. Because if you don't do anything, then what would stop people from doing it without a thought? I mean, that's the thing about it. I go, it's just organized crime at this point if you have 1 million people covering up for this type of story. Now, people were saying last night, I was really annoyed by it, that people witnessed the gang sheriff's conduct. Okay, so this is going to be just overall conduct from men, where they trash us for not coming forward on these stories. Yet, the guy's excuse for not reporting was, he's like, when I seen this stuff, I look at it like I would be snitching. Yet, when all this stuff came out, they're like, oh yeah, they're a bunch of gang members. Like, they're more than happy to talk about it now. So why wouldn't you have reported it early on? Why do you leave it for women to do it, even though you witnessed conduct that was exactly what they did a long time ago? So they love sitting back, making me look like a crazy person, and they're trying to sit there and call me crazy about it. And then, yet, it's proven, right? I didn't make that up. I didn't make anything up that I'm posting. Now, mind you, I put a lot of information out, because if I don't, you can't explain what's going on here. And I need to get it out to the right people. And they constantly come in and erase stuff, they delete stuff, or it's because I have a lot of information that I have to kind of go over the same story over and over because there's new people. And so I have to continually do that like a educator. You know what I mean? Because you'll come into the story and I have people going, what are you talking about? Blah, see? And it's decades long of a story. And so there's no way for me to be able to do that properly. There just isn't. And always new stuff. Like this right here is new stuff. So Mr. Combs and his son and his chief of staff. Now his son is ridiculous, dude. Like, I was like, oh, we already got this arrogant, socio, probably spoiled son that's writing perfect under his eye. Was that him? I was like, oh dear God, gross. And I don't know, like the public attacked him for that ugly chat. He probably wrote it with a pen. I don't know, but I was like, what is this thing? He's like, perfect. He should put like the perfect sun and put sun on the other eye. And then actually do some sunburst around one eye so you could just look like a total monster. Okay, so representative for Justin told TMZ, they are all lies. And that was a clear example of a desperate person taking desperate measures in hopes of a payday. Jones is seeking $30 million. His son, I can tell you right, his son be coming out like, Tom Hanks' son or something. Like something bad. All these kids come out terrible. Now, this isn't a white father. This right here, I always know that they always brought him up. I used to think like he was this total, like, I don't know. He just comes off as not like any of these other people. Every man's dream is to run a human trafficking ring, regardless if they're white, black, green, yellow, okay? Every man wants to run a human trafficking ring and rape everybody. So, he's an American rapper and producer. How old is he? He's 54. He's a Gen X jerk. Okay, so yes, I told you, Gen X, and mostly these older Gen X, 54, is going to be atrocious monsters. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah, no, I'm very right. That was awful growing up. Okay, so, but he's born in Harlem. Okay, so I was not from Harlem. Combs worked as a talent director at Uptown Records before founding his own record label at Bad Boy Records. He's a bad boy, okay, in 93. Okay, you're called Bad Boy. They want to be bad boy monsters. So this is what they literally want to be, these bad men. That is, they just got to be the worst of the worst. That's their whole thing. Combs has produced artists such as B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, and Usher. Okay, now people have been making some comments about him and Usher and some other things. Now, there probably is some truth in a lot of this stuff. Okay, now it goes into, okay, so let's go to early life. Okay, early life. In 1969, he was born in the Harlem neighborhood of New York City. Okay, now, mind you, the age of consent in New York, I believe, was 17, so you could rape some kids still in New York, but he was raised in Mount Vernon, New York. His mother, Janice Combs, was a model and teacher's assistant, and his father, Melvin Combs, served in the Air Force. Oh, God, he had a military dad. Oh, no. And was the associate of convicted New York drug dealer Frank Lucas. Wow, okay. At age 33, Melvin was shot dead while sitting in his car in Central Park West when Sean was 2 years old. Wow. Okay. And actually, he wasn't completely raised by him because he was only 2. So that actually wouldn't have been much of a contributing factor. Okay, so, all right. Combs graduated from Mount St. Michael's Academy and St. Michael's Academy. What is this? Oh, God! Oh, my God, his upbringing is not what you would expect. Like, this one's weird. Okay, so his upbringing was in Mount St. Michael's Academy, which is a all-boys Roman Catholic high school, probably where they touched each other. Okay, that's crazy. I would have never thought that with this guy. Okay, but he is running around with the cross, and I was like, uh-oh, beware, dude. He played football. Oh, God. Okay. This part is actually falls in line with what we're talking about. All right, so the military dad thing got thrown out because he died when he was like 2, okay? But if the military dad was like an addition, it totally, I mean, it would start, but no, I would think that he would actually be more of a, I would see him being more of like a Suge Knight type. I mean, I don't know, somebody was saying that Suge seemed nice to them and all that, but his personality would come off, I think a little differently than what it is. But this is interesting because Catholic schoolboy around all boys, okay? So all those boys were touching each other. Yes, indeed. He played, and sexual stuff where they were learning sexual stuff together, which is totally whack. He played football for the academy, okay? So we talked about the football thing. And his team won, okay? Combs said he was given a nickname Puff because he would huff and puff when he was angry. Okay, so does he have anger management problems? I wouldn't want to be called Puff as to somehow brag about, I have a PD. Oh, yeah, that's right. His name is PD. I forgot. Okay. That's where it came from. PD. Okay. Combs was in the business. He was a business major at Howard University, but left his sophomore year in 2014 and he returned to Howard University. What the hell? He's like this total, schoolboy. That's interesting. Combs became an intern at New York's Uptown Records in 1990. While working as a talent director at Uptown under the guidance of label founder Andre, he developed. Okay, those artists. Okay, in the college days, Combs had a reputation for throwing parties, some of which attracted up to 1,000 participants. In 91, Combs promoted an AIDS fundraiser with Heavy D. Okay, and then the event was oversold and a stampede occurred in which 9 people died. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so in 92, being fired from Uptown, Combs established a new label, Bad Boy, in 93. Okay, so the rest of that is that. Okay, so what's important here is these portions. There's not a lot in the early life portion here, but okay, so he lost his dad. Okay, so I don't know, there's a thing with that. I don't know how old was his mom when they met, right? Like you want to know these things too. Like did he have a young mother? Was it I don't know, but at 33. So at 33 died, he was 2. I mean, how old was the mom? I have no idea. Okay, but the Catholic school thing. He graduated from the academy. Yeah, that's one thing. The football culture. I don't want to say lack of a dad. Because that's not what would make them act this way. But he has anger issues already, so you need to wonder why that's going on. So yeah, it's very limited information, but you can kind of see something here. It wasn't a thing where it's like we were poor and he was growing up. I don't know how much money he had, but if he's going to academies and university, he's not the typical story of like, we lived in a trailer park and then I had to run the streets and sell drugs. And I don't know if maybe that's why he did it. I don't know. The dad was, or at least the dad was an associate. You're saying an associate of a drug dealer. So I don't know. He's too young though to have any of the inclusion of that. So yeah, Catholic schoolboy. And what's he doing? He's touching a bunch of girls and boys. Okay. And minors? The legal case is fifth action against Mr. Combs. The 54-year-old ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Cassie Ventura, sued him in November and about the rape. Okay, so the musician settled the suit 2 days later. I have decided to resolve this matter. Okay, so on terms that I have some level of control. Okay, so for more accusers have now filed lawsuits against him. Okay. One alleged Mr. Combs drugged and sexually assaulted her and showed videos of the assault to others, while another woman alleged Mr. Combs and another man took turns raping her and her friend in the early 90s. Combs has denied all allegations against him, and in December, let me be absolutely clear, I do not do anything awful. Wait, any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight my name, my family, and for truth. You went to a Catholic school, dude. Like, I believe all of it. I was like, that's so weird. It definitely is not the typical struggle story in that way. At least not on the portions that I read. A number of photos of the parties at Combs were included in the suit. The court documents claim that the photos include underage girls and sex workers who it is alleged were supplied with drugs. Maybe the photos of the underage girls are not in a sexual manner to where like you could get totally busted here. I don't know, because it's just like the photos have underage girls. I told you they all grew up to want to run a human trafficking ring, and the more money that they have, these are the true human traffickers right here. That's who created human trafficking. The ones who had the most power. So they learn to manipulate their power and control and to get people to be desperate and get into a situation. And you see here, like, if we go by it being as it says, he had this guy come over, and then this is totally messed up. Okay, so he was drugged and recalled waking up naked, dizzy, and confused next to Mr. Combs and 2 other women. I always thought it was totally odd that all these guys, they just like touch each other. They have no care, dude. They're just like, okay, right here I am with this guy, and they're all down with it. And it's just like, what the hell? Well, this guy's drugged out. Okay, he was trying to groom him to pass him off to friends. But I don't get that. Pass him off to his friends, like other engaging in serious illegal activity. Like, okay, so I don't know. They didn't really, okay, maybe that's part of the thing. They didn't really get in depth as to what this engaging in serious illegal activity. Do you mean like drug dealing or like maybe human trafficking? I mean, maybe some, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Like, okay, so some of these people didn't want to come forward because they considered it snitching. I told you, the snitching thing has to do with male protection. And men want to say stuff. And it, okay, so for women, they want to say stuff, but they are scared that they're going to get killed if they say stuff. And it really will happen. So these men want to be bullies to these women and everything else, right? And it's not to say that there's not women that are not being bullies to other people, because I've seen it. Some of them have been bullies to other females and other men. Okay, here there is also seemingly some men that really want to talk, but then they won't because of their little brohood honor code, no snitching. Okay, so this would be considered by them a snitching action, which I do not see it as that, and I wouldn't even call it that. I would be calling it don't follow along with the pack of the cult. I mean, that's really the thing. I mean, it's not, you got injured in it, so what do they want? They wanted you to be harmed by these guys, right? And that's the thing about that whole culture right there. And I'm not going to argue or even claim that I really understand the origins of it, because I remember reading the initial thing about this whole thing was about protecting itself from, I think, from white men or something like that. Well, we're way past that. Everybody's totally violent and criminal today and doing all kinds of crap and human trafficking women and raping each other. I don't know what the initial beginnings of this whole thing was about, but it's certainly today, whatever it is in the past several decades here, has been, that's not a good thing. And so then what happened here? So then all the guys that were running the streets, that were raping women, drugging them up, doing all those things, are now billionaires and millionaires. And now they have the power to control and keep information down. That's literally the cycle of this, regardless if they're white or black. I mean, that is male supremacy. That's absolutely it. But then they want to talk racism. And I'm like, well, you're doing everything that would cause all of that stuff. You're being that person. You're being that man. You're being that man. You got a problem. You got a problem here. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, we want to cut the violence down. It's like, the whole violence thing is because of this. This is an act of violence. This is totally an act of violence. But they've been calling us liars and saying that they're not all rapists. They are all rapists. And they're raping men. That's why I go, we got to get to the men part right now. We got to get to the male part right now. Because for all of us women, this is the thing about this story. And I go, for all of us women to come out and say we all got raped. And not more than once, a million times a day. Okay. It's telling you that these men all know they're rapists. Okay, this is not a game where they're playing innocent here. They all got raped, they all got touched, and they were touching each other to normalize that behavior as being totally fine among each other. And I go, watch, they're gonna come out. They're gonna come out, and they need to come out on these guys. I am not the bad guy. I'm not the one that raped all these people. They continually bully me. It's so crazy in the weirdest ways. It's like, I try not to pay attention to it. Like, honest to God, from school. However, we do need to confront the bullies because they will not stop and they feel empowered every time they do it. And they shouldn't be empowered doing it. And then they try to keep information down. I was like, see, I was never wrong. I was literally never wrong. No, there's still more to learn from this, but it's going to come out. It's coming out. All these guys raped each other. And then them talking about posting I don't know what the hell was the Tupac thing where they put a picture of him in a shower naked. It looked, maybe that picture's fake. I don't know. Maybe it's real. I don't know what the hell, but everybody's like questioning people's conducts up in here. And I go, yeah, I guarantee you They all touch each other. They all did stuff in front of each other. They all didn't care. They all touched their buddies, you know what. And, you know, it's a man thing. It's a man thing, Jude. You know, brotherhood, don't tell anybody. You know, this shit. Like, so much. It needs to go. It needs to go. It's not a good world because of this shit. Like, all of it. Not just them. I mean, just the whole thing around this MS, right? Like, it may have had its time and place in history. It's not what it was. I don't know if it was always this. I don't. I don't know a lot about way back when. But I do know, starting from the 90s, these guys had no problem with getting some kids and human trafficking. So that's why I kept saying, I go, they don't have any problem with that. What are you talking about? If they go to prison, they're going to get killed. Who are you talking about? I guess it depends who you're talking about. I go, because these guys, no, were you out here? I was. So I'm a kid, right? If they're hitting on me,